What's up, everybody? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're looking to get your music reviewed, you can hit up this email that's right here. But today you are tuned in to another episode of The Archives where I talk about some of my favorite albums from the past. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Wu-Tang's 1993 debut called Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, and this is honestly one of the most popular and influential albums of all time. The Wu-Tang, when they came onto the scene, brought this very rough, rugged, and ruthless style, and as a group they went on to do really well as solo artists. I mean, this spawned many careers, this album right here, with some going on to do more than others, but either way, everybody knows the Wu-Tang, man, and if you don't, you must be living under a rock, because these guys really set the tone in the 90s, and even now they're well known, they're appreciated, and they pretty much have a cult fan base. Myself, as a kid coming up in the 90s who was dubbing cassettes, going on with that Columbia House 10 CDs for a penny thing that a bunch of people in the neighborhood were doing, this is one of the albums that really stuck out to me and became a personal favorite. I definitely would put this album as one of the ones that helped foster my love for hip-hop back in the day, so the Wu-Tang does hold a special place in my heart, just like many other people who came up in the 90s. Now, we do know that the Wu-Tang is a large organization. They have plenty of affiliates as far as other rappers go, producers. They've been involved in a lot of things, especially business ventures, but focusing on this album right here, the Wu-Tang is made up of RZA, GZA, ODB, Method Man, Raekwon, Ghostface Killah, Inspector Deck, U-God, and Master Killa. Of course, some of these guys appear more than others on the album, with U-God and Master Killa only popping up once or twice, and RZA is basically the mastermind of the Wu-Tang, man. He helped put all this shit together, he's a producer of all these tracks, and you'll hear him drawing plenty of influence from East Asian music, culture, those classic kung fu flicks. This sound that RZA really put together for this project really helped shape the Wu-Tang, made them stick out from everything else going on at the time, and even to this day, the Wu-Tang is synonymous with these types of things. I mean, you think of the Wu-Tang, you obviously think of kung fu, and they did have some of these elements in their videos as well, which I will speak about as we move forward. But this unique style is what helped make this album so special, and also the group chemistry, because whether you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 members on a track, whatever number of members you put on there, they all had great chemistry. They knew how to play off of each other effortlessly while bringing these unique styles, and to this day it still amazes me how such a big group can be that way, because you know a lot of rappers out there now, they're doing the same similar ideas, the same flows, the same sounds, the same topics, but this group here, the Wu-Tang, every single member sticks out in their own way, and to me that is something that's truly special. You're going to hear this on 7th Chamber Part 1 and 2, where you hear most of the members going with these back and forth verses, just one after the other, coming through with that unique style and holding it together. So there's really this feeling of organized chaos throughout this album. These guys are like family who know each other really well. They know how to bring the balance. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses. Really one of the greatest hip-hop groups of all time, and I don't think that even has to be debated. We all know what it is. Even on the song Tears, for example, you're only getting RZA and Ghostface. So again, those other songs I talked about had a bunch of members, but even when it's just 1 or 2 together, they still are playing off of each other really well. This is a dope-ass track with that Wendy Renee After Laughter sample. Really great beat happening here, and RZA and Ghostface are on their storytelling shit. RZA is telling the tale of his younger brother getting shot, while Ghostface is recounting the story of a guy who got burnt from running up in too many girls without a condom. So you are going to get a bit of content as you go through this project, although the Wu-Tang is mostly known for kicking that hard-hitting, grimy shit, which we'll speak about as we keep going. Now, the album actually starts with the song Bring the Ruckus. This one really sets that quintessential Wu-Tang tone, because you get that kung fu flick at the start, you're getting heavy drums blaring through, and then RZA starts chanting, "Bring the motherfucking wuckus, bring the motherfucking wuckus," in that voice that he has. We all know RZA sounds a little bit different, and this was a great way to kick off the album because it's instantly getting you hype. You're getting that grimy, nasty feel. This beat is just dark and dirty, like one of those cellars you see in TV dramas, you know, where you got the light bulb just swinging in a dirty ass room, man. That's how grimy this beat is, and there are hardcore quotables all over this song. Whether it's Inspector Deck's opening line, "I rip it hardcore like porno flick bitches," that has been sampled in many songs, or GZA saying that he's more rugged than slave boots. Every MC on here is tossing this beat around like a rag doll, including Raekwon and Ghostface, who showcase the chemistry that they're especially known for. Everybody here has chemistry, but we know how Ray and Ghostface played off of each other a lot early on in their careers on their earlier albums. Of course, Only Built for Cuban Links is a perfect example of this, where it was basically Raekwon's album, but Ghostface was the guest star. So really dope track right there. I would say Bring the Ruckus is just the epitome of Wu-Tang's hardcore style, along with the song Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to Fuck With. Love this track. We all remember at the start we hear that Tiger Style, then that humming starts up, the heavy ass drums come in and that slinky bass line. This is just a rowdy ass track, man. And that hook, Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to Fuck With, said over and over, We all know how true that is because we have heard many stories over the years about the Wu-Tang having to G-check certain people and other rappers. I mean, the Wu-Tang is authentic. That is something you can't take away from them. We've heard plenty of street stories, and if you haven't, go ahead and look it up because the Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with, man. It's not just a song, they're letting you know. But the lead single to this album was Protect Your Neck. To this day, this is one of the most classic Wu-Tang songs. You're getting this deep bass to go along with ominous keys, strings, and heavy drums. Again, that grimy and gritty sound that RZA has pieced together for them. And all members, with the exception of Master Killa, absolutely tear this up. This one to me is sending warning shots at everybody, warning them not to fuck around with the Wu-Tang Clan once again because they keep it real. Ask anybody, and I'm sure you'll get various answers in regards to who is the best verse because everybody snaps on this song, and every song really. Like, the verses on this are just crazy going back and listening to them. But I always liked Inspector Deck's opening verse because those first couple of bars are so iconic. Over the years, Inspector Deck's been known as one of the best Wu-Tang members to kick a song off. Of course, we also heard this with Triumph. I believe he also has the first verse on Guillotine on Only Built for Cuban Links, so there are plenty of instances of Inspector Deck doing his thing on the intro verse. But I also always liked ODB spitting these lines when he says, "First things first, man, you're fucking with the worst. I'll be sticking pins in your head like a fucking nurse." That line, just something about those lines right there has always stuck with me. Those are some really dope lines there. ODB brings just that frenetic, crazy, wild, untapped energy that nobody else had at that time or even now. Again, this ties into how every member has such a unique style, so RIP to ODB. But if we want to talk about legendary hip-hop tracks, like some of the most legendary tracks of all time, of course we got to talk about Cream, man. Cash rules everything around me. I still remember being a 9-year-old and just being drawn into this video because of the images. They were all rocking baggy clothes with the toques and kicking bars with cold vapor coming out of their mouth. Really love this video even now in 2020. And that twinkling piano sample, man, come on, that is iconic. That is absolutely classic. As soon as you hear that, you know you're hearing Cream, along with the chorus from Method Man where he says, "Cash rules everything around me. Cream get the money. Dollar dollar bill, y'all." Absolutely legendary, iconic, and classic. Those words get tossed around freely whenever we talk about hip-hop, but when it comes to this song and this album, it truly applies. Cream is an absolutely amazing, legendary, iconic, and classic track. Can't stress that enough. And you know what? Back then, I didn't really dig too deep into lyrics. I mentioned how I got into this album at a young age, but then in later years, I really appreciated what we were getting in the bars because Raekwon and Inspector Deck are really going into great detail about their struggle trying to come up, some of the things they experienced and went through, and how it's all about survival. You do get some of these themes throughout this album on other songs, including on Can It Be All So Simple. This was another single where Raekwon and Ghostface recount their younger years and they're really just dreaming of a better future. You are getting these themes and concepts throughout this project, so it's not just typical grimy, gritty shit for the whole thing. You are going to get these ideas throughout of just coming up in the streets. They're sharing their story, giving that street narrative, and it's done really well. Of course, with Can It Be All So Simple, I also got to point out how this track is one of the softer, dreamier cuts on the album, so it does match up with the content. It's giving you that sliver of hope. And the intermission at the end of this track is cool because each member is having their personality be described to an interviewer. They're just breaking down how each member ties in, how that chemistry works, and how they play off of each other. So that's pretty cool. And that does go into what I was saying earlier about them being like a family, because really, that's what the Wu-Tang is. Now, we also get the song Method Man. This, of course, has that classic torture skit pasted to the front of it, and man, to this day, it still makes me shiver to imagine putting my nuts on a dresser and having someone smash them with a spiked bat, sticking hot coat hangers up an ass. I think that was another thing. Just all kinds of painful shit going on there. But this song, this is giving you a heavy boom bap beat with some piano keys. Method Man is teaching us how to spell M-E-T-H-O-D, man. This is another iconic track, and this really went on to help spawn Method Man's solo career. He did really well for himself moving forward. He did movies as well. This was one of the songs that really put him to the forefront of the Clan, in my opinion, and it is one of only 2 solo tracks on the album. You do get the song Clan in the Front, and this is where GZA shows why he's known as a genius and why he's such a highly respected lyricist, with lines like, "The GZA, the one who just represent the Wu-Tang clique with the game and soul of an old school flick, like the Mac and Dolomite, who both did bids." GZA, one of the GOATs, definitely going to have to review Liquid Swords eventually. We will get to that. So these are the only 2 solo tracks on here, although Clan in the Front has RZA talking on the start of it, I think. Even on some songs where a couple of guys have verses, you might have someone popping in here just to do a quick hook, maybe saying something on the intro, popping in to say something as an intermission throughout the track. They kind of just play off of each other on some of these songs. But overall, that is a solo GZA song, because he's the only one rapping. But one of my all-time favorite Wu-Tang songs is on this album, and that is The Mystery of Chess Boxing. This is another video I remember watching at a young age, and I absolutely loved it. They're just playing around with knives and swords on a chessboard. Really cool looking video. Again, you're getting that East Asian influence here. And this is where U-God makes his only appearance, but man does he make it count. I believe he was locked up or he was going to court around this time, so that's why he wasn't on the album more. But he spits these iconic bars: raw, I'ma give it to ya with no trivia, raw like cocaine straight from Bolivia. You guys remember that shit. That is hard hitting. As soon as you hear that, it gets you hype. And Wu-Tang are the masters of starting their songs off right. So many of these songs, when I think of them, I think of those opening lines. So they really know how to piece together everybody in the right place, which I guess does tie into the whole chess aesthetic of this song and the video. Everybody's coming in at the right place to leave a mark. There are great verses all over this. Also, Master Killa makes his only appearance on this album, on this song. He is a great verse as well. He spits the last one. And I just want to point out that I think he is one of the most underrated Wu-Tang members of all time. He doesn't get a lot of love, but if you've ever heard his albums No Said Date and Made in Brooklyn, then you already know Master Killa is no joke, because he was killing it on both of those albums. And I actually saw him and the rest of the Wu-Tang live many years ago back in Rhode Island. Master Killa was performing a bunch of his songs, so maybe that helped make his sound and style resonate with me a bit more, but that was a really dope show. We got to see the Wu-Tang, except at the time ODB was dead, RIP, and I believe RZA was working on a movie or something like that. But we saw everybody else. They did a bunch of these hits, a bunch of hits from their solo records. Really was a dope show. I forget what year that was, because I'm getting old and it was a long time ago. But back to The Mystery of Chess Boxing. ODB has a great verse on here. Again, he's coming through with that unhinged style, getting lower than Jacques Cousteau, and ODB just sticks out all over this album, man. As I was listening through, it just really made me appreciate him even more than I already did, because whenever he pops up, he sticks out immediately. Like, there are some rappers you hear, you might say, oh, I know who that is, but you don't get excited about it. But ODB comes on this track just flailing his arms and going in, man. He really snaps all over this, and I think he really steals the show on Shame on a Nigga. This is a track where it's mostly him going in. This has one of the album's groovier, bouncier cuts because of those horns, so it's kind of fun. He just handles the majority of this song, including that legendary chorus. Another standout moment from ODB and the Wu-Tang Clan. So you get Method Man popping up on this track as well. He's got that smooth style that has aged finer than wine. And you got Raekwon dropping gems as he compares the Wu-Tang to Voltron. That certainly works for me, man, because I've been saying they got that chemistry, and who got more chemistry than Voltron? Maybe the Power Rangers with their Megazord and Dragonzord and all that shit, but you know what I'm saying, damn it. They did their damn thing on this album, and that's all I gotta say, man. Obviously, I can't cover everything. I'm sure I missed a couple of spots. You guys let me know what you think about this album. What are some of your favorite moments? Do you think there's something glaring that I missed? Obviously, I didn't go into the full history of the Wu-Tang and all that, because I wanted to focus more just on this album, but there's obviously a lot to get into with the Wu-Tang, because they are such an iconic group. Their members are still putting out music today. And I got a lot of respect for the Wu-Tang, man. They really changed the game in the 90s. So let me know down below how you feel about this album. How do you feel about the Wu-Tang? Feel free to rank your favorite members. Who's your number one, your top five, whatever you want to do. And of course, make sure you do that good YouTube and social media stuff where you show me love and you show me lots of it. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will see you next time.